Good morning. Welcome back. Thanks for being here. Going a little lighter roast with the light being, not super dark, medium dark. Oh, it's hot. What a roast you're having. Anyway, we're continuing our theme of passages that are resonating with us, right? Lord, let our hearts be good soil. How does Scripture speak to our hearts? One that resonating with me currently it's resonated with me for a long time. It's actually I use in the installation service because of that. It's from the book of Jeremiah. It's the call story of Jeremiah, chapter 1. Some ways I relate to the story. Pastors always have a call story, which also, shouldn't we all have call stories, whether pastors or not? Why are you called to the things you've done or are doing, right? We all should have call stories. God calls everybody, but that's another video for another time. Anyway, for me, I like this story in that God tells Jeremiah, before you were in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I consecrated you. I appointed you prophet to the nations. God already has these dreams for us before we even exist. It's true for all of us, right? And Jeremiah has this funny response, like a lot of people do actually in Scripture when they're called to do something. More often than not, the answer is, "Well, not me." He says, "I'm only a boy." As someone who felt the call, I felt the call originally in middle school. And being a pastor at a younger age than a lot of pastors, I relate to this passage. It's funny, God kind of slaps down the excuses, says God is one to do with these call stories. Moses, I can't speak. Well, don't worry. Aaron will speak for you. Jonah, no, I shouldn't go to Nineveh. No, you can go. Don't worry. It's kind of the same thing. God says, do not say, I'm only a boy, for I will send you, and I will give you the words to speak. Right? And this is the section that always... So far, it's been like every other call story. This is the section, verse 10. So it's the one that always spoke to me. Not the appoint over nations and kingdoms, please. That's not me. But the call of Jeremiah is to pluck up and pull down, to destroy and overthrow, to build and to plant. It's interesting. I use this section to describe my call story, like I'm sharing with you all, when I was in candidacy. And I'll never forget one of the ladies on the candidacy committee asked me, what in the church needs to be destroyed, overthrown, plucked up, and pulled down? Hopefully building and plant, pastor, future pastor at that point. You should be doing that. So it's funny, so often I think in our efforts to make God more approachable, sometimes we can cut out some of God's power in our proclamation. That God isn't just building and planting, God is also destroying and overthrowing. What, you ask? Well, how about racism? The church is rife with that. Sexism. What about destroying our 1950s way of doing things that hasn't worked for decades? Right? What are things in our lives now that God would want us to destroy? To overthrow and replace, put in its place, build something better. Plant something that'll grow and blossom into something better than we've ever had before. I think this is part of the reason speaking to me now. These are conversations we're having as a nation. It's not just my life. I think we're all having these conversations. And I think nationally we're having this conversation. The world we live in is not the way it should be. God tells us this. I think at this point we know this. Granted, we have it better than most people, but there are plenty of things that need to be destroyed or overthrown. Plenty of things that need to be built up and planted, right? Right. For example, I think of, if you think outside of the U.S., right? There's so much of the world that still lives in poverty. Might not even have a guaranteed 3 meals every day, let alone one. I mean, these are bare essentials we take for granted Something needs to be overthrown here. Something needs to be destroyed. The system or way of doing things. Something needs to change. And it can. And this is part of the message. Notice God has two lines to Jeremiah of, pluck up and pull down and destroy and overthrow. Two lines of that, but then there is a line of hope. It's the law and gospel, right? Yeah, the world's not what it should be, but God knows what it needs to go. God will give us the words to say. God tells the prophet Jeremiah. I think that the call of Jeremiah could be a call to our world right now. I mean, I think it can always be true, but and I think the other thing too is I think of in this country, not even just the rest of the world. The issues that we've, like I said, systemic issues, discrimination and such. Those need to be overthrown. Like I said, there is. I don't know. I want to leave it open-ended because I want you to think. Surely there are things in your control, in your life, that can be replaced, and something better with God's help can take it over. It's a call to reform. Right? Iron sharpens iron. It's a refining fire, if you will. Right? And sometimes letting go of the things that we have had, Lutherans especially, right? We don't like change. Familiarity is comfortable. Sometimes destroying something or overthrowing it might come at a loss of us. It might jar us. It might push us into new ways. God knows. God does that plenty with these call stories, right? He's pushing Jeremiah right here. But ultimately, even though we can't see it in the moment, what will take its place will be better for everyone. That's what God's calling us to. So, today, I invite you, survey your world, if you will. What can be destroyed? What can be overthrown? It's like a biblical Marie Kondo, right? Cleaning out. And what can take its place? Blessings on that discernment.